And Jake, you mentioned in Punch Bowl this morning that the president's address comes at a difficult time for his party. There are no big legislative victories on the horizon. What are Democratic lawmakers hoping to hear from the president tonight?
They want a reset. They really do. I mean, they feel like they are treading water and they're not really able to jolt ahead. And I think what Amna said is right. I mean, he has to speak to the world here, and the world is watching at a time of just unprecedented geopolitical peril. But he also needs to speak to a party that, according to polling and based on what we know from history, is likely to get pummeled in 2022. The electoral map does not look good for Democrats.
As the war in Ukraine intensifies by the hour, President Biden is deep in final preparations for his first State of the Union address tonight. Always an important moment and marker for any president. But for this president, he has the war in Ukraine hanging overhead. And it's not the only crisis facing Americans today. An exhausted nation weary from the coronavirus pandemic, an economy still fighting its way back and still being dragged down by stubborn inflation.
And obviously, there was no plan, even just, I would say, 10 days ago, to begin a State of the Union speech with not just foreign policy, but an urgent foreign policy crisis that the world has not seen in almost a century.
Yeah, and I mean, in polling is suggesting that Biden comes into this big moment tonight with work to do and what you're talking about. I mean, more Americans disapprove of his job performance so far than approve. You see that on the screen from CNN's poll of polls. On the economy, no matter what real progress he points to, people still don't feel good about the way it's going.
This is Americans here at home are increasingly worried about the economy, inflation, of course, with one poll showing that overall only 37% approve of the job he is doing. Joining us now, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, will be sitting behind the president, of course, as he speaks to Congress tonight.
Tonight, I hope the president will give a message of confidence to the people of Ukraine that we are there for them, but to be drawn into a conflict with with President Biden being such a unifier in all of this, and President Putin being a taunter for World War III. It just can't happen.
Now, the polls show Americans deeply pessimistic about the economy. Inflation is only going to rise with what's happening on the energy front with this war. What do you attribute to that? What the decline in the president's polls, even on COVID, on how he's handled it, what can he do to turn this around?
Because for people to appreciate what the president has done and that working together with the Congress, they have to know what it is. President Lincoln said public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost everything. Without it, practically nothing. But people have to know for public sentiment to. And so, of course, we're very proud that the president has, under his term, 6.6 million new jobs were created. Of course, the private sector had a role in that. There are kitchen table concerns about paying the bills, whether it's food, rent, credit card bills, the education of their children, their retirement, whatever it is, the same kinds of issues that keep people up at night and affect their opinion as to what the state of the nation is. But there's no one more empathetic than Joe Biden. There's no one who cares more. We are so blessed that he's president at this time because we do have to build America better. And that's what he is doing. And he has a vision for America that is a big one. It's not all complete. And the message that people have to hear is that he is here for them. Here's what he's done. Here's what he intends to do. And we're not finished until the American people feel the comfort level they need to feel in our economy. So I'm really very, very proud of him. Again, on the global scene, from the global security standpoint, at home, economic security for our families, our values are well served, and tonight will be a great speech. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it will be pivotal in terms of COVID as well, which has had a direct impact on the attitudes and rates that people give to governance because COVID still has its remnants. But I think tonight will be pivotal in terms of our values, his vision, his plan, his knowledge, and his connection to the American people.
Now, I know you've got to run, but let me quickly ask you about that, because the CDC mask guidance, of course, changed last week. Today, D.C. officially lifted its indoor mask guidance. Are you going to be wearing a mask tonight?
No, I'm not going to be wearing a mask tonight. If I had little children or if I were around little grandchildren, I would, because some of them would not be vaccinated. Or if I were around a person or were a person with some kind of a condition that would make me susceptible to it. So I think people have to use their judgment about it. But I do think that if people make their own judgment, I make my own judgment that I won't be wearing a mask tonight.
And what about, Michael, the low approval ratings? The top issue for voters, the economy, inflation. It's only going to get worse with the sanctions. He's trying to deal with it tonight. He's going to have proposals on energy. He's already announced taking 30 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but that is a drop in the bucket. They can do more. It's the highest rate of inflation in 40 years. So it reminds me a little bit of President Clinton's 1996 address when he was facing a tough situation at home, and he said, the era of big government is over. And David Plouffe, this address was there's never been a time when a laundry list of future domestic programs would be less important, correct?
Yeah, I think this is very much about the context of where we are. I mean, he's going to have ideas around inflation, around energy.
But at the same time, Stephanie, you've got the Democratic Party, not just a 50-50 Senate and so many divisions politically here at home. You've got the Democratic Party pitching a progressive, opposition point of view speech tonight.
Yeah, well, Andrew, we're a big tent. It is a little unusual for a faction of the party to be giving a State of the Union on the same night that their president is delivering one. We've made great progress since the president took office. Strongest economy in 40 years, record job growth. Millions of Americans have been vaccinated. We're finally opening up. I'm in my office for the first time in 2 years today.
And one has to hope that Vladimir Putin doesn't try to preempt it in a split-screen moment with some hideous attack tonight.
But I think, but moreover, people don't feel like the economy is secure and that they're doing well, right?
That's the real issue.
At the time,
we don't
they
feel
wanted
first world enough.
Exactly.
I think that, weirdly enough,
and
it's like I want to tell people, go live in another country and realize we have it pretty good here.
We don't feel comfortable enough.
There is an opportunity here for Joe Biden. If you were to say, oh my God, we've got to have a Cold War president, there probably isn't anybody in the Democratic Party that has better credentials to manage this moment. This could be an opportunity for him.
It could be. Interestingly enough, he's not polling well on this issue, though.
He's not.
Ukraine, he's not polling well.
This is the Afghanistan effect.
Yeah, he's not polling well on it. And unfortunately, if you have gas prices and energy prices go up, which they almost certainly will go up even more, that's going to be counted against Biden. But this is a moment, right? The fact is that Biden wanted to turn towards China. He didn't want to be dealing with Russia. He wanted to kind of put them to the side and focus on Asia.
The State of the Union does allow you to lay out a blueprint for the entire year, and you can maintain that, but I would not. The real opportunity in front of you is to capture the leadership mantle, and that is probably the most important thing to get out of this speech, and I wouldn't sacrifice that opportunity.
Here's the dirty little secret. In 36 hours, this will be forgotten. This changes nothing in the broader thing. I think with Ukraine, this is a defining moment in the long term. But in the short term, you're right. It's going to be the inflation, and it's going to be the economy. So, look, if I'm a Republican right now, and if I'm advising them, I'm saying keep exactly what you focused on with Virginia and what you've been focused on the whole time with what works. Inflation, the economy, crime, those kitchen table issues.
The president's polling below every other elected Democrat in the country.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. I can't think of another one who's polling less than 40%, right? And so their ballot number. So in a weird way, they're already separated from the president.
Well, part of the problem that I think that Biden has, and I've been thinking about this a bit, is the fact that he does not have this locked-in base that was in love with him, right?
He's got a George H.W. Bush problem.
No,
same thing that happened to him back then.
Yes, he's a very, he can function, he can do well, he knows government, he knows all of that, but people are not in love with Biden. And so he has that problem. So there are a lot of people who are ready to be like, okay, you didn't get voting rights, you didn't do anything on police. They're ready to be like, I got a problem with Biden.
I hate to draw a broad brush here, but the 2 one-term presidents we've had, the 3 one-term presidents we've had, well, before Trump, the 2 that we had before came in without real bases, right?
Yeah.
Carter and Bush didn't have a real base.
Yeah.
Biden, that's something that he has in common with them. It also is why Bush got 91% approval at one point, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're sort
Shows
of.
you how ephemeral.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You know, what that 91% approval rating really is about.
But it is an opportunity. It's because he went after a strong man. In a weird way, Biden might want to emulate that in a moment. Happy, I think the first day here in D.C. that we can do this.
Yeah. That is nice. That is
So
nice.
thank you very much. Delta, then Omicron, rising inflation, falling poll numbers, the Afghanistan withdrawal, and now war in Europe. So as the president prepares to once again address the nation amid crisis in his first official State of the Union. You've been serving in Congress since the end of the Cold War. Yeah, no, and I say this, and we're coming full circle. And tonight is going to be the first speech in at least 20 years, State of the Union 20 years, that is a foreign policy focus.
We are now confronting the worst risk of war that we have since 1945. General Milley said that yesterday, and I agree with him. America is, I think, the president's agenda and vision.
How is unity inside the Democratic caucus? I say this because I think there are 3 different House Democrats that are giving their own reaction to the State of the Union. Rashida Tlaib's decision to do that has not sat well with moderate members, but I think there's a centrist member who's with a Republican who's going to be doing one. This seems like self-inflicted political wounds, doesn't it?